In the last video, we put together our first fully functional test. So I now want to continue this test new deck function and maybe test one or two other things about this new deck that we just created. And so just as a reminder, I think that it might be helpful to say, hey, let's make sure that the first card is an ace of spades and the last one is a four of clubs. And so to write out these two tests, they're both going to be very similar. We're going to, again, create a new deck. We'll write out an if statement to make sure that the first card in the deck is equal to the string ace of spades. And then if it doesn't, we'll just tell that test handler that something just went wrong. All right, so we'll flip back over. Now, remember that the list of values and suits that you used might be in a slightly different order than the ones I used. So for me in particular, the first card in my deck is going to be the ace of spades, and my last one will be the four of clubs. So if you have different starting or end values inside of these two slices right here, you are going to write your test slightly differently than mine. But for me, it's going to be ace of spades and four of clubs. Okay, so back inside of our test new deck function, we'll now write out another if statement to look inside of this deck that we just made and make sure that the first element or the first card inside of there is an ace of spades. So I'll say if d at 0, so again, just plain array notation that we're used to with many other languages. In this case, it's a slice, of course, not an array, but you get the idea. So if that is not equal to ace of spades, well, then we need to tell our error handler that something just went wrong. So we'll say t.errf, expected first card of ace of spades, but got, and then again, we're going to use that little interpolation or injection syntax. So we'll say %v, and then we'll place in what we actually got, which is d at 0. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now we'll repeat the same process for the last card in the deck as well. So we're going to make sure that the last card in the deck is a four of clubs. So I'll say if, and this one's going to be a little bit more complex. So we'll say d at the length of d minus 1. So that's going to be the last element in the slice. So if that is not equal to the four of clubs, then we need to tell our test handler that something went wrong. So t.errf, expected last card of four of clubs, but got %v, and then we'll pass in the final card, which is, again, d, length of d, minus 1. And I'm going to zoom out just so you can see that whole line. Okay, so let's run this test and see how we're doing. Flip back over to my terminal, I'll run go test, and again we get this nice pass message. Now you're going to notice very quickly that unlike other testing frameworks, which will tell you the number of tests that were executed, in this case, we're not really registering any tests here. All Go knows is that we have a function called test new deck. So it doesn't really know that you and I are writing three separate tests inside this thing. And we really are. Like, this is one test, this is another, and this is a third one. So Go really doesn't know that we have executed three tests. And that's why you're usually not going to see something that says, oh, we just executed 30 tests and they all passed successfully. Or maybe we executed 30 and maybe 2 failed or something like that. All Go knows is that you might run a function and something inside of it might fail catastrophically, basically. Okay, so I think that's basically it for test new deck. Now I would like to write one more slightly more complicated test, I think. One more just a little bit more complicated. So let's take a quick break and we're going to come back in the next section and we'll write a test around making sure that we are able to save a file to our hard drive and then create a new deck from that file. So quick break and I'll see you in just a minute.